taxi driver. The madness that grows when a man has no purpose. You know this feeling. When your life slips into a kind of quiet darkness. Nothing dramatic, just empty. And it scares you more than any threat ever has. There's a point where a man stops being afraid of danger and starts being afraid of becoming nothing at all. Do you want to learn more? Stay with this, because the movie Taxi Driver shows exactly why this happens. So, why this matters to you? You've had nights where the world kept moving and you couldn't keep up, where it felt like everyone else had a destination, and you were just trying to make it through the next hour. The weight isn't in the loneliness, it's in the drifting. It's in the feeling that you're not anchored to anything. That's where Travis begins, and that's where a lot of men quietly break. Chapter 1. Drifting in a world that no longer needs you. Travis comes back from war and finds a city that doesn't know what to do with him. He's surrounded by noise, yet cut off from every direction that used to give him certainty. You've been there in your own way. A transition that didn't land how you hoped. A goal that slipped away, a season where nothing lined up. And suddenly, you're walking through your own life like you're visiting it instead of living it. People don't talk about this enough. A man can handle being alone, but what he can't handle is feeling like his presence doesn't matter. That's when the ground starts giving way. Slow at first, barely noticeable, until your days blend together and nothing in you feels solid anymore. Travis's taxi becomes the perfect symbol for this drift, constant movement with no real direction. You've lived that rhythm before, waking up, working, going through the motions. All while something inside you keeps whispering that your life wasn't meant to be this flat. And once that whisper grows, it becomes impossible to ignore. So, let's stop here for a second and think. When was the last time you felt like your life was actually moving somewhere? Not just forward, but somewhere. Chapter 2. Sleeplessness and the slow erosion of self. There's a part of the film where Travis stops sleeping, not out of choice, because something in him refuses to rest. You know that kind of exhaustion. Eyes open at 2:47 a.m. Mind running hard, but never in a straight line. Thoughts that don't resolve. They just circle the same dead corners. It's not really madness. It's a man running out of places to put his pain. Restlessness is one of the first signs you're losing your sense of direction. Your body moves, your life doesn't, and the world becomes harder to tolerate. Not because it's chaotic, but because it reflects the turbulence inside you. When that turbulence builds long enough, you start looking for something, anything that feels like a reason to keep moving. That's the moment where a man becomes vulnerable to ideas he would have never entertained before. Let's pause for a second and think this through. You don't spiral suddenly. You erode slowly. Chapter 3. When you reach for someone to save you. Travis sees Betsy and doesn't fall for her. He falls for what she represents. A life raft, a clean story, a chance to anchor himself to something gentle and bright after months of internal static. You've done this too, not with a person specifically. Sometimes with a hope, and sometimes with a fantasy about who you could become if the right thing finally arrived. Men in collapse don't crave love, they crave direction. Someone who can make the world feel less hostile and less senseless. And when that imagined salvation slips away, it doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like the world is confirming your worst fear, that nothing can hold you up. In the movie, when Betsy walks away, something in Travis hardens, not because she hurt him, but because she was the last place he tried to place his meaning. That moment hits harder than people realize, especially if you've ever leaned too heavily on someone because you didn't know where else to put your heart. Okay, let's just stop here for a moment. Think about this. Who were you hoping would give your life direction? Chapter 4. Inventing a mission when you don't have one. After Betsy, Travis finds Iris, and it's not compassion that pulls him toward her. It's desperation for a purpose. When a man has no mission, he will create one. Sometimes in light, sometimes in shadow, frequently in the space between them. You've had your own versions of this, throwing yourself into projects for the wrong reasons, building obsessions that felt noble but were really escape routes, working yourself to the bone because standing still felt unbearable. Remember this: purpose heals, but false purpose numbs. And numbness, when fed often enough, becomes violence, but not always physical. Sometimes against your potential, or sometimes against your relationships, and even to your future. Travis believes that if he can save Iris, he can save the part of himself he lost. It's not heroism. It's a man grasping for meaning in the nearest place he can find it. And once a man convinces himself that redemption requires destruction, the line between mission and madness disappears. So, let's stop here for a second and think. What purpose have you forced into your life because you couldn't find a real one? Chapter 5. The world crowns a broken man a hero. At the end, the city praises Travis. They turn his violence into a story they can stomach. They call him brave. They call him necessary. They call him something he never truly became. And the part that stays with you is how quickly it happens. Ignored one day, celebrated the next. Yet nothing in him actually changes. He's still drifting, still restless, still unanchored, still haunted by the same sleepless nights. The film shows you something quiet and devastating. A man can reach the edge of himself, and the world won't notice until the explosion. And even then, they may not understand the suffering that led there. Public praise doesn't heal private wounds. It just distracts from them. Let's not rush past this. Give it a second. This is the real warning. Silence can turn a man into someone that even he doesn't recognize. The truth you already know. Here's what the film is really pointing at, and it's something you felt in your bones. You can't drift forever. Your mind won't let you. Your soul won't tolerate it. Your days won't stretch that far. When you don't choose your purpose, something darker chooses one for you. A habit, a distraction, an obsession, a fantasy of who you could be if you weren't living the life you're trapped in now. This is why men collapse quietly. Not because they're weak, because they're directionless. Take this with you. Pain doesn't break you. Purposelessness does. So, what happens now? Remember how we began, that moment where you felt unseen, where the darkness inside you wasn't loud, just hollow. The film wasn't telling you to be afraid of that state. It was telling you to pay attention to it. Because you don't disappear when you lose your purpose. You just become someone who lives without a horizon. But you can step out of that drift. You can choose a direction before the void chooses one for you. You can rebuild a path that feels like yours. Instead of waiting for someone or something to hand you one. You matter when you decide to matter. And that decision doesn't come from the world. It comes from you finally deciding to meet your own life head on. That's the real message buried inside Taxi Driver. A man breaks in silence. And he rises there too, if he chooses to.